All right, so are you ready to dive into some seriously mind-bending ideas? Today, we're going to explore The Holy Science by Jananapatar Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri.
Yeah, this one's not your typical spiritual text.
It's definitely not. It's this book that was published in 1977,
Okay.
and it tries to bridge Eastern and Western philosophies and to show the unity that underlies all religions.
Yeah, and it was written by the guru of Paramahansa Yogananda,
Oh, wow.
the guy who wrote Autobiography of a Yogi.
So we're talking about some serious spiritual heavyweights here.
Exactly.
Okay, so this book comes with some serious lineage.
Yeah. Yogananda even wrote the foreword to The Holy Science.
Oh, wow.
And he explained that Sri Yukteswar was actually given the task of writing this book by his own guru.
Okay, so there's like a lineage going on here.
Yeah.
Okay, but what's in it for me? What is the big idea here?
Well, if you've ever felt like history repeats itself,
Yeah.
or you've ever wondered if there are these larger forces that are shaping human consciousness, this deep dive is for you. Because the Holy Science introduces this concept of yugas.
Yugas.
Yugas, yeah.
What is that?
It sounds kind of like straight out of science fiction.
Yeah.
They kind of are like, imagine these vast cycles of time that are kind of like cosmic seasons.
Okay.
And they influence everything from human development to the rise and fall of civilizations.
So like massive amounts of time.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so break it down for me.
Okay.
What are these yugas?
So there are four main yugas, and they are Satya Yuga,
Okay.
Trita Yuga,
Okay.
Dwapara Yuga,
Okay.
and Kali Yuga.
Gotcha.
Each of these yugas has these unique characteristics, and they influence humanity in all these different ways.
So like, are they like good yugas, bad yugas?
It's not necessarily like good or bad.
Okay.
It's more like this ebb and flow of energy, right?
Okay.
Like you could think about Satya Yuga as this glorious summer.
Okay.
It's the golden age.
Yeah.
Where spiritual understanding is like at its peak.
Okay.
Everyone's basically enlightened. It's great.
Yeah. Sorry up.
Right.
Yeah.
But like summer, it eventually gives way to
Fall.
Trita Yuga, which is like autumn,
Okay.
and things start to, cool down a little bit.
Right.
Virtue and knowledge, they decline a bit.
So they're still good, but not as good as the peak summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then we have Dwapara Yuga, and this is where things get interesting. This one's like spring.
Springtime.
Yeah, mental energy is just flourishing.
Okay.
And humanity becomes obsessed with figuring out how things work.
Oh, cool.
It's a time of like invention and discovery.
So is that when like science and technology are really taking off?
Yeah, you got it. And Sri Yukteswar actually connects this yuga
Okay.
with major advancements like the discovery of electricity and magnetism.
Oh, wow.
And he even mentions specific inventions,
Okay.
like Cornelius Drebbel's submarine in 1609.
So he's taking like ancient Hindu cosmology and saying it's actually lining up with real events.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, and then finally we have Kali Yuga.
The dreaded Kali Yuga.
Yeah, so this one is the, the so-called dark age.
Right, yeah.
And it's like winter, things get kind of bleak. Ignorance prevails.
Bruh.
Spiritual understanding dwindles.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a struggle.
So are we stuck in this winter yuga forever?
Well, that's where Sri Yukteswar kind of throws this curveball, right?
Okay.
He says that the common belief that we're currently in Kali Yuga is actually a mistake.
Okay.
And he claims that we actually entered Dwapara Yuga back in 1894.
Hold on. Back up a sec. He's saying we're not in the dark ages.
Look,
We're in the springtime.
according to him, we were in that springtime of mental development and material advancement.
But everyone always says that we're in Kali Yuga.
I know, right?
It's so interesting.
Yeah, and he makes this really compelling argument based on these astronomical calculations
Okay.
and this historical analysis. He basically says the almanac's got it wrong.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's saying all this rise of modern science and technology is actually a sign that we're in this Dwapara Yuga.
Exactly. It's like humanity's brain power is waking up, and we're starting to really understand
Oh, wow.
and manipulate the material world in these new and incredible ways.
Yeah.
I mean, think about like the explosion of technology in the last century.
Right.
From like electricity to the internet.
Totally.
It's wild.
Okay, my mind is officially blown.
Yeah.
This is like
It's a different way of looking at it.
a whole different perspective on history.
Yeah.
But if we're in this Dwapara Yuga, does that mean it's just all going to be like good times ahead?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it actually leads us to another important aspect of the holy science,
Okay.
which is this idea that while these yugas influence like humanity as a whole,
Yeah.
individual growth is still key.
So it's not just like fate.
Yeah, you're not just along for the ride.
We have to do something.
Exactly.
Okay, so even if we're in Dwapara Yuga, the springtime, it doesn't mean we're all going to just magically become like enlightened geniuses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sri Yukteswar emphasizes this importance of like personal effort and spiritual development.
Okay.
Regardless of like the yuga you're in.
Okay.
It's kind of like saying, sure, the weather might be nice.
Yeah.
But you still need to like plant those seeds and tend your garden.
Oh, I like that.
If you want to see, beautiful flowers bloom.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
Okay, so how do we tend our gardens, so to speak?
Yeah.
Like, what does he suggest we actually do?
Well, he dives into this concept of the 5 koshas.
Koshas.
Koshas, yeah.
What is that?
Which are kind of like layers or sheaths that are covering your true self.
Okay.
So imagine your true self is like this radiant diamond.
Right. Okay.
But it's all covered in like layers of dust and grime.
Right.
So those layers are the koshas.
Okay.
And they represent like your physical body, your energy, your emotions, your thoughts, and even your deepest sense of like bliss.
Okay, so we got to clean off those layers.
That's the idea.
To reveal the diamond.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
And that's where practices like meditation, breath regulation, and like ethical living come in.
Yeah.
They're the tools to help us like polish those layers and awaken our true potential.
So we're not just waiting for Dwapara Yuga to do the work for us.
No, you got to participate.
To do something.
Exactly. We're not just passively waiting. We have to actively participate in our own evolution.
I like it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, Sri Yukteswar even suggests that through this inner work, we can potentially achieve what he calls Aishwaryas. Aishwaryas, yeah.
What are those?
Now you're just using fancy words. Well, think of them as like spiritual superpowers.
Okay.
Almost like what you see in superhero movies,
Right.
They're abilities that become accessible as you progress on this like spiritual journey.
So like telekinesis and invisibility and flying and...
Well, not exactly those specific powers, but the idea is similar.
Okay.
Yeah, he lists 8 of these Aishwaryas.
Okay.
And they include things like the ability to become as small as an atom.
What?
Or to like fulfill any desire effortlessly.
Hold on. Fulfill any desire. Where do I sign up?
Yeah, don't get too excited.
Okay.
These powers aren't for like personal gain or like ego gratification.
Yeah.
They're actually a byproduct of this. Like profound spiritual purification and a dedication to, selfless service.
No winning the lottery with my superpowers.
Probably not.
Okay.
But think about the potential to make a real difference in the world.
Yeah.
When you're operating from like that level of awareness and inner mastery.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Right.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So to recap, we got these yugas that are like shaping human consciousness, but we also have the power to direct our own evolution through these spiritual practices.
Exactly.
And potentially unlock some, pretty amazing abilities.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff.
Along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is really just scratching the surface of what the holy science has to offer.
Wow. Okay.
It's a dense book.
I'm excited to keep going.
Yeah, me too.
This is heavy stuff. But this idea of yugas influencing human consciousness, I gotta say, I'm really digging it.
Yeah.
It makes you think, like, are there these deeper patterns throughout history?
Yeah, that's exactly what Sri Yukteswar explores in the Holy Science.
Okay.
And what's really unique is that he doesn't just rely on, like, Eastern scriptures to support these points.
Right.
He actually brings in Western texts, too, like the Bible.
Oh, wow. Wait, he's connecting ancient Hindu cosmology with the Bible.
Yeah.
That's a conversation starter.
It is. He really saw this fundamental unity in all religions.
Okay.
And believed that a lot of the differences were actually just misinterpretations and cultural overlays. You know?
Right.
So he was really trying to bridge this gap between East and West and show that these like seemingly different traditions are actually pointing to the same underlying truth.
So it's not about them being different. It's about them just being different expressions of the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah. He uses Sanskrit sutras, which are these little nuggets of wisdom as like the foundation for his arguments.
Okay.
And then he backs them up with references from the Bible and other Western philosophical texts.
That's so cool. So he's creating a dialogue between these wisdom traditions.
Yeah, it's like he's weaving this tapestry with threads from all these different sources.
Okay.
And the result is this, like, incredibly rich and multifaceted understanding of human spirituality
Right.
and our place in the cosmos.
Okay, I'm starting to see the scope of this book.
Yeah.
It's not just about yugas and cosmic cycles. It's like understanding the bigger picture
Exactly.
of human existence and how we evolve,
Yeah, you're getting...
both individually and collectively.
And one of the things I find most compelling about the holy science is that it's not just theoretical.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
it's a call to action.
So it's not enough to just think about these ideas.
Wow.
We have to actually do something with them.
Right. It's about applying these teachings to your own life.
Yeah.
And taking these practical steps to move towards self-realization.
So how do we do that?
Yeah, well, remember those koshas we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, the layers covering our true self.
Yeah, the diamond covered in grime.
Right, right.
Well, Sri Yukteswar actually provides these specific practices and guidelines for purifying those koshas and awakening to our true nature.
Okay, so give me the cheat codes to spiritual enlightenment.
Oh, I wish it were that easy. But Sri Yukteswar really emphasizes practices that have been around for centuries.
Right.
Things like meditation, breath regulation, and cultivating moral courage.
So the tried and true methods of inner transformation.
Exactly. It's about consistent effort, self-reflection, and a willingness to kind of confront your own limitations.
Yeah.
And he also emphasizes this importance of living in harmony with nature.
That's something we could all use a reminder of these days.
Definitely, yeah. Sri Yukteswar actually believed that humans are naturally frugivorous,
Okay.
meant to thrive on a diet of fruits, grains, and vegetables.
Okay.
And he saw this as a key aspect of aligning ourselves with the natural order.
So no more late night pizza runs?
Well, maybe in moderation.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how he connects physical well-being
Yeah.
with spiritual evolution.
Absolutely. It's all interconnected.
It makes sense
Yeah.
that taking care of our bodies would support our inner growth.
Right. And as we kind of progress on this path,
Yeah.
Sri Yukteswar suggests that we might experience these glimpses of our true nature,
Okay.
which he calls Kaivalya Darsanam.
Kaivalya Darsanam.
Yeah.
Okay, what is that?
It's the vision of final emancipation.
Okay, so that sounds pretty profound.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't personally reached that stage, right? But he describes it as this state of pure awareness, bliss, and liberation from the cycle of birth and death.
That's heavy.
It is.
But it makes you wonder, what are we capable of if we really dedicated ourselves to this?
I know, it's pretty incredible. And one of the things that I find so fascinating about the holy science is how he kind of outlines these different stages of spiritual development.
Okay, like leveling up in a video game.
Huh. Kind of, yeah. He uses the 4 main castes in Hinduism to represent these stages.
Okay.
But he's not talking about, like, social hierarchy here.
Right.
He's using them as symbols for different levels of consciousness.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are those stages?
So he starts with the Sudra,
Okay.
which represents the stage of ignorance.
Okay.
And this is where we're mostly focused on material things.
Yeah.
And we haven't really started to question the deeper meaning of life.
Just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah, exactly. Like sleepwalking through life.
Yeah.
But then we come to the Kshatriya stage, which is the warrior.
The warrior.
Yeah, and here we start to, like, awaken to the possibility of something more.
Okay.
You know, we begin to question,
Yeah.
to seek to challenge the status quo.
So that's where the journey begins.
Exactly. And this leads to the Vaishya stage, which is all about refinement and discernment.
Okay.
We become more skilled at distinguishing between truth and falsehood.
Okay.
And we start to live more consciously and ethically.
So we're getting our act together.
Right.
Okay.
And then finally we reach the pinnacle, which is the Brahmana stage.
The Brahmana stage.
Yeah, and this is the stage of enlightenment where
Yeah.
we've transcended the limitations of the ego
Yeah.
and realized our oneness with the divine.
So it's a journey from darkness to light, from ignorance to wisdom,
Beautifully put, yeah.
from separation to unity.
Yeah, and Sri Yukteswar provides guidance on how to navigate each stage.
Okay.
And he emphasizes this importance of finding a qualified guru
Right.
to guide you on this path.
It makes sense to have a mentor
Yeah, absolutely.
who's walked the path before you.
Yeah, and while he outlines these stages, he also acknowledges that it's not this strictly linear progression.
Right.
You know, we can move back and forth between these stages
Okay.
depending on our actions and choices.
So it's not just a straight line, it's more like a dance.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's where the power of free will comes in.
Right.
You know, we're not just puppets of fate.
Right.
We have this ability to choose our direction
Okay.
and cultivate the qualities that will lead us toward liberation.
Okay, so we've got the yugas, the koshas, the stages of development.
Yeah.
It's a whole system
We're
for
not-
understanding our place in the cosmos and
Yeah.
our potential for growth.
Uh-huh. And remember those Aishwaryas we were talking about?
Oh, yeah, the spiritual superpowers.
Yeah. Well, Sri Yukteswar suggests that as we progress through these stages,
Okay.
we might start to unlock some of those latent abilities.
Wait, so the more evolved we become, the more likely we are to get those superpowers.
That's the idea.
Okay.
It's not about seeking those powers for their own sake,
Right.
but rather seeing them as a natural byproduct
Yeah.
of spiritual purification and self-mastery.
Okay, so I'm going to add develop telekinesis to my vision board.
Well, maybe start with some of the more foundational practices first,
Okay.
like meditation and cultivating loving kindness.
Right.
But the point is that the holy science really opens up this realm of possibilities
Yeah.
that we might not have even considered before.
It's crazy to think about what we might be capable of
Yeah,
if we can tap into our full potential.
exactly. And that potential isn't just for our own benefit.
Right.
Sri Yukteswar emphasizes that true spiritual growth actually leads to a desire to serve others
Okay.
and contribute to the upliftment of humanity.
So it's not just about personal enlightenment, it's about using that
Yeah.
to make the world a better place.
Precisely, he writes. The measure of our spiritual progress is the degree to which we manifest love, wisdom, and selfless service in our daily lives.
That's a good yardstick to measure ourselves by.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to consider how all of this ties back to the idea of the Dwapara Yuga.
Yeah.
If Sri Yukteswar is right,
Right.
and we're in this springtime of mental and material advancement,
Yeah.
what kind of impact could we have if more and more people embrace these teachings and strive for self-realization?
That's a really powerful thought. Like, if we're in this time of increased potential,
Exactly.
maybe there's a potential for a collective awakening, too.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe,
Yeah.
by consciously working on our own evolution,
Right.
we can contribute to a brighter future for humanity as a whole.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's inspiring to think that we can shape not just our own destinies, but the trajectory of human consciousness itself.
It is.
Wow, this conversation has been so thought-provoking. And I'm sure our listeners are just buzzing with new ideas.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so welcome back to our deep dive into the holy science. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface here.
I know, right?
Sri Yukteswar's work, there's so much to unpack.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth.
But I think we've already covered some pretty mind-expanding ideas.
Yeah, for sure.
So before we wrap up, let's try to distill some key takeaways for our listeners.
Okay, thanks, good.
What are the things we really want them to remember from this deep dive?
I think one of the most important points is that Sri Yukteswar offered this really unique perspective
Yeah.
on the cyclical nature of time
Right.
and human consciousness.
And his interpretation of the yugas. I mean,
Totally.
it really challenges those traditional views,
It does.
and it makes you rethink the whole idea of progress.
Right, are we really in this dark age?
Yeah, instead he's painting this picture of humanity on this upward trajectory
Yeah.
with this increasing mental capacity and potential for spiritual growth.
And he didn't shy away from connecting these ancient concepts
Yeah.
to modern scientific advancements.
Right, showing that they might reflect the shift into the Dwapara Yuga.
Exact.
That's what I thought was so fascinating about it.
Yeah, for sure.
He's bridging spirituality and science in this way that feels both profound
Yeah,
and strangely convincing.
I agree. Yeah.
And, amidst all this talk of vast cosmic cycles, he never loses sight of the individual.
Yeah, that's important.
He's always emphasizing personal effort, ethical living, and spiritual practices.
Right. Those are the keys.
As the keys to unlocking our true potential.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's empowering to think that even within these larger forces at play,
Yeah,
we actually have the ability to shape our own destinies
absolutely.
and contribute to the evolution of consciousness itself.
That's huge.
It is a big idea.
That's a central message of the holy science.
Right. It's not about waiting around for some golden age.
Yeah. No.
It's about taking action
Absolutely. You have to participate.
and creating a better world right now in the process.
You got it.
So it's like a call to action,
It is, yeah.
disguised as a spiritual text.
Exactly.
And one of the most intriguing parts of this call to action is this idea that as we evolve, we might actually gain access to these extraordinary abilities.
You mean like the Aizwaryas?
Yeah, Aizwaryas, yeah. The spiritual superpowers.
Right.
I gotta admit, that's the part that really captures my imagination.
I know. It's a very tantalizing concept.
It is.
But you have to remember that it's not about using those powers for personal gain.
Right.
It's about, like, harnessing them for the greater good.
Okay.
For serving humanity and contributing to the upliftment of consciousness.
Like the superhero origin story we all secretly wish for.
Totally.
But the real superpower is this transformation of consciousness itself.
It is, yeah.
It's about realizing our true nature as these divine beings that are connected to something so much greater than ourselves.
Yeah, it's a big shift in perspective.
It is. Wow. Okay, so we covered the yugas, the koshas, spiritual practices.
That's a lot.
Those incredible Aizwaryas. This is a lot to digest.
It is. But hopefully this deep dive has given our listeners at least like a taste of the wisdom that's contained in the holy science.
And maybe inspired them to, explore some of these ideas further on their own.
I hope so.
Yeah, because ultimately it's a journey of self-discovery.
It is.
It's a path that we all have to walk individually.
Yeah, but like we were saying before,
these
individual journeys aren't happening in isolation.
Right.
We're all part of this like grand cosmic dance.
Yeah, we're all connected.
Influencing and being influenced by these larger cycles of time and consciousness.
I like that.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a final question to ponder.
Okay, hit me.
If Sri Yukteswar is right, and we really are in this upward swing of the Dwapara Yuga, a time of increasing mental virtue and understanding, what potential might that hold for humanity in the coming centuries?
Ooh, that is a great question to end on.
Yeah, what do you think?
Could we see like this unprecedented flourishing of scientific discovery and spiritual awakening, and maybe a more harmonious global society? It's pretty amazing to think about.
It is, yeah.
The possibilities are really mind-boggling.
They are, and perhaps by embracing the teachings of the holy science and actively engaging in our own evolution, we can actually play a part in shaping that future.
That's a powerful thought to carry with us.
It is.
So to all of our listeners out there, we encourage you to dive deeper into these ideas.
Yeah, check out the holy science.
Explore the wisdom that's in this book and see where your own journey of self-discovery might lead you.
It's an adventure.
It is an adventure. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the holy science.
Wow, thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Until next time, keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.